We've got the local disproportionality in the criminal justice system report, and we've got the national race action plan. It's trying to look in terms of that confidence gap and how we address it. We want that to be underpinned by an anti-racism strategy, and we need to understand at some point how we're going to design that in consultation with staff and communities. And then we want to understand the really significant bits of work that you've identified that will drive change.
Seeing all the 43 chief constables signing up to an action plan was a success. So we've got actions that are being progressed, and it's being led by the chief constable, it's being led by an assistant chief constable, and I've been part of that as well. So as a neighborhood police officer, it's something that I really want to see happening on the ground. How is he going to feel out there? Being a black officer, I need to be able to feel that, there is progression within the organization. I feel the culture has changed. I've been in the job for 19 years, like in the olden days where people would stop talking when they see me. But I want people to be able to continue talking, to ask those difficult questions.
Police officers who have 28 years service or were fresh out of the box, they only really have 1 or 2 training sessions on stop and search in training school, and then there's very little for them afterwards. There's the odd online package, and then the odd thing that's mentioned at officer safety training once a year, but nothing specific, bespoke, that is created not only aware of our local issues, but national issues in stop and search as well. That is also indicative of what our communities are thinking and feeling. So the first thing that we really worked hard on launching was a stop and search continued professional development package. It has been reviewed by a number of community members, stakeholders, scrutiny panels. We launched that in summer, and already a third of the frontline staff have completed it. Our information tells us young black males particularly are being stop and searched. How do we reach them and understand and get them to have a say on our use of powers? It's so important that we're accountable to them. So we have commissioned and set up the very first youth scrutiny panel in Avon and Somerset. The first one was in June in Bristol. The second one is the middle of this month in Bristol, and we're branching out to North Somerset in December.
So we know some of our black victims get some of the worst outcomes in terms of crimes reported to the police, and that cannot be right, and we have to put in place measures to make sure that doesn't happen. I would still like to encourage people to continue reporting things to the police. It's really important we understand what's going on. We do want to get the right outcomes, and we do want to improve.
One of the things that we're putting into place is having a trust and confidence group. So we've got one set up for Bristol, which includes 10 people from our black heritage communities involved, and that group will be able to advise us on what we're doing.
Bringing in some of the voice of the victim and lived experiences from both our victims and community members, really important. I think that's some of the most impactful stuff that we can do for our officers.
It's about knowing our communities, connecting our communities and getting them to come and see what we do.
If you're working in an area of policing, or if you work in a community, or if you work with a stakeholder and you know that you can provide something different, something which creates a fairer system for black people, then we would love to hear those ideas, people to get involved and to share that with us.
I thought I had a good understanding of the community, having worked in Bristol, and the challenges that were faced by all communities, but particularly black communities. And then 2 of my colleagues I was having a conversation with, and they are 2 colleagues from the outreach team who are both black, and they talked to each other about the talk. Now me, in my naivety, thought that was the birds and the bees. Turns out that actually in black families the talk is the talk that you have with your often young son, but I guess can be daughter as well, about what to do when, not if, you're stopped and searched by the police. And that took me aback. And the fact that a young mum, dad, parent, carer has to think about that for somebody that they care about and that they love, completely irrespective of anything that that young person does or chooses to do in their life, just solely because of who they were born as, I think is absolutely dumbfounding.
I need to be able to stop having the talk about my son, how to behave when he's stopped by the police. So those are things that probably will be a measure for me personally, but as an organization as well, I think we are in the right direction. We are in the planning phase. We are doing stuff and actions are being done.
My aspiration is that Avon and Somerset is the first force in the country where parents of young black men and women don't have to have the talk with their children.